Hello and happy Monday, July 6th. Welcome to an exciting outdoor edition of Rate Desk. Behind me are a row of meters at my multifamily property, and I wanted to share more on that later in the episode. First, going to the markets, looking at all three major indices, they are up today. We're seeing some records being set again in the S&P 500 and also in the NASDAQ, the tech-heavy NASDAQ. That is a positive sign, positive momentum in the markets. Earnings are coming out later. We're getting into earnings season, so we'll see what, if any, that impact is going to have. Jumping over to the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield, pretty much range bound from last week at 68.68 is the trading range there for the U.S. 10-year. Nice to see the crude oil has jumped back up into the $40 barrel range. That is positive to see as well. There were some home statistics that came out today regarding the extension of forbearance for single-family mortgages going up. That is not surprising. I mean, if you give a borrower an option to extend a payment, a lot of times that they will, especially if there's economic uncertainty. I don't see that really as a negative sign as much as just kind of a sign of the times, kind of where we're at right now in the economy. But there's some analysts that were focused on that today, so I figured I'd bring that up in today's episode. Jumping on over to the multifamily markets, we are seeing a bit of a shave off 2 basis points on the 223F. That's quoting today at 253. That's 2.53. And we're seeing an uptick in the 40-year FHA rate. That has gone up to 3.13, 3.13. That is mainly driven by a widening of the spreads between the permanent 35-year mortgage rate and the 40-year construction permanent mortgage rate of about 5 basis points. So that's quoting at 3.13 today. Jumping over to agencies, really no change in Fannie Mae DUS. That's still quoting at the 298 range. And the Freddie MAP has moved up a bit, quoting in the 314 range. That is 3.14, or 1 basis higher than the 40-year construction perm loan for FHA. Kind of interesting little note there, side note there. What I want to speak with you about today and why I'm standing outside in sunglasses is because I can't see very well in direct sunlight. So I gotta have these glasses on, but I'm standing in front of these power meters because HUD has now issued comments, public comments, requests for those on the new FHA MAP guide. I mentioned last week that it was going to come out this year. It really does look like it's on track for that. There are public comments due back by the end of August. So I do still anticipate this actual new FHA MAP guide to be issued before the end of 2020. If you know about the program, you know that it hasn't been issued since 2016. So it's been a few years, and there's some updates in there. And as I go through them, I'll update you on parts of it and things that jump out to me. One of those is this new chapter 6 on energy conservation and water measures. And there's a lot of new ways that HUD is getting at how do owners build green and sustainable properties. But I'm going to focus on the macro level here. And there was a term I read recently that I think epitomizes the way a lot of these mortgage reduction programs have worked in the past regarding green and energy efficiency, and that term is greenwashing, or in some cases impact washing, but essentially finding a way to meet a score or meet some kind of criteria without substantially doing anything that is really making your property more energy efficient or more sustainable. The agencies had this when they first came out with their program, and you could argue that some of the FHA loans in the past were not as focused on energy measures being applied that drive down those energy usage results going forward. So I would say from a macro level, from a 30,000 foot level, HUD is really trying to eliminate this so-called greenwashing and make sure that an owner, a borrower who's receiving green incentives is doing so for really making these changes. One thing they brought up that I thought was very interesting, and I believe I've mentioned this before too, they're talking about real-time data monitoring. This is why I'm out here focused on these meters at this multifamily property. It's very difficult to get utility usage data from utility companies, and every owner and developer across the country has different ways of doing this and different relationships with utility companies. It's not been the easiest thing to facilitate the usage data. Now in this case, in this property, this building has individual units metering each individual apartment unit in the building. That's excellent, and that would give you that granular data. But what is happening with that data, and how is that data being looked at in real time? I don't know the answer to that question. There's very few companies that I'm aware of today in the multifamily sphere that are focused on this real-time data analytics in the multifamily universe. One of the arguments could be, well, if you're trying to drive tenant behavior, that's a very soft and maybe potentially ineffective way to attack the energy sustainability issue. I disagree with that, and here's why. Anything in sustainability that has caused real fundamental changes to how we do things has always come about through a shift in behavior. That shift in behavior started with a shift in perception. The perception would be that utilities and energy and water are precious resources, and we should pay attention to how we use them. That would be a fundamental behavior shift and behavior thought pattern shift for tenants and even owners in some cases to look at it from that perspective. When you think about electric cars and Tesla, or before them, the energy efficient Prius and all that, that is a change in behavior. Yes, it's a new tool, it's a new technology, but in order for that new technology to be adopted and to be used, there needs to be a perceptual shift in using that technology. Think about the 50s and 60s when, companies and oil companies used to just dump waste just wherever they felt like it. Okay, why did they stop doing that? Was it because there was a change in technology? No, it was because there was a change in perception. We realized that that was a horrible thing to do, and we should not pollute the earth by dumping, waste products from oil manufacturing plants, for example, into the ground to contaminate the groundwater. So what I'm saying here is there is an opportunity for a perceptual, fundamental shift in the way multifamily owners and tenants think about energy usage. That is my thought of the day. It could be my thought of the week. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Rate Desk. I'm your host, Michael Thomas, signing off.